international markets and also at Belkin. And he leads the strategy for Linksys consumer and small business portfolios in international markets and is responsible for Linksys product and business management functions in the Asian region. He is a veteran in the consumer tech sector and an expert on emerging markets, and he also holds an advisor role to peers from other multinational companies on emerging market strategies, turnarounds, and consumer insights. And Philippines is a market very dear to him. And he was here in Manila twice for the launch of Linksys flagship products in the recent months. Today he's going to share with you how crucial consumer Wi-Fi is for the Internet of Things and what are some of the unique smart offerings from Linksys positions the router as the true center of the connected home. Ladies and gentlemen, let's all give it up for Mr. Jai Thampi.
Thank you very much. And I'm just recognizing that a quarter of the presentation is gone. So at the bottom it actually says loading, and there's it's a kind of a killjoy, but let me try to put it this way. Actually, I made this presentation a day ago, but when I looked at the agenda today, I had a feeling that most of you probably feel a bit like what you see over here, completely drained, and your head is probably going this way right now. But that was not the idea. Those two icons on the top are probably the most dreaded icons we see on a smartphone or a tablet. Battery dying and no Wi-Fi or very low signal. So I want to ask a very simple question. Is your Wi-Fi cheating on you? Because, Wi-Fi actually stands for wireless fidelity. Many of you probably, know hi-fi and then it became Wi-Fi. But really, is there fidelity in the Wi-Fi that you have at home today? Because fidelity really means, you can trust it, it's reliable, it's loyal, it's constant. But today's Wi-Fi experience is far from that, for most of us, right? And I want to really take some time to talk about Wi-Fi today. What kind of Wi-Fi experiences do we have at home, and why is it that way? And then I'll share a few pieces of information about how Linksys addresses that problem. So, first of all, this is actually a result of a survey we did in the US. There's a little footnote that you are missing there, but we asked 1,000 consumers of households of 3 or more devices in the US. Actually, this was a research done by IDC on behalf of Linksys, so they didn't know that Linksys asked this question. What is the number one thing that you can't live without? So we gave them a list of things to prioritize. And interestingly, Wi-Fi was number 2. It was actually more important than TV, booze, or sex. Now, I know probably most of you don't agree with that. I can figure that, right? And I got that same feedback when I was doing the presentation in Bangkok. And that's a 6 capital, so obviously they wouldn't agree with it. But this is a reality. Wi-Fi is very important to all of us as consumers. Early this year, there was another research done by Qualcomm, the company that makes chipsets. And they asked smartphone users what are the most important factors that consumers want in a smartphone. Interestingly, number 1 was battery life, and we heard a lot about power banks and charging in the last hour, so that is kind of given. We understand that very well. But the number 2 thing was Wi-Fi. It wasn't mobile coverage or 3G signal strength or anything. It was really Wi-Fi. So what it really tells us is that consumers, all of us, we rely on Wi-Fi a lot. And it is actually, whether you're at home or whether you're using a smart device, Wi-Fi becomes super important. Wi-Fi is actually becoming the center of connected homes. Depending on which company you talk to, there's a different definition of connected homes. But the way you look at connected home, a router really sits at the center of the connected home. Because without a wireless network, your connected home pretty much doesn't work. And whether a device comes into the home or not, you really don't know about it. So a true connected home experience really comes to life when you have a good wireless network. So it's a given that the router really sits at the center of the connected home. So it is really important, right? Now let's also look at some of the statistics. Wi-Fi technologies have been evolving. So most of you probably familiar with wireless B, which became wireless G, wireless N, wireless AC. Super confusing for consumers, but the technologies have been evolving. And then if you look at what kind of products and devices have been connected to these wireless networks, that number has also been growing. I think it's going to grow even more exponential than what you're seeing here. We've got about 7 billion people on the planet, and I think in the next 3 or 4 years, there will be more than 20 billion things connecting to the networks, and majority of them will connect through a wireless network. So it's even more critical for us to realize that wireless is a real important part of life. But let me ask you this, do you think all of us are really happy with our Wi-Fi? I think today most people have this kind of experience with Wi-Fi and with internet access in their home. It's either poor, it's very weak, inconsistent, frustrating. Most of the times when we are trying to access something using our PC or our smartphone, this is the kind of experience we get. So let's do a kind of a status check. The trends are all the same. Whether I go to the US, whether I go to Singapore, whether I come here in the Philippines, or if I go to Indonesia, the trends are all the same. We have the latest smartphones in our pockets. We were just talking about iPhone 6s, and I think half of the crowd was there getting the new, screen protector. So everyone's upgrading to the latest devices. High definition, I don't think we want to go back to normal definition anymore. We're already in the world of 4K, right? Smart devices, home automation, Internet of Things, it's all real. Whether we have a good 1 gigabit broadband at home or whether you're still struggling at less than 1 Mbps, the reality is a reality. But the wireless experience is terrible for most of us. And that is because there is multiple factors. And most of the time what happens is you will basically blame the service provider. Will say, that's because they're not giving me a good network. But actually the reality is worse than that. The more devices start to appear in the home, the more problematic our Wi-Fi becomes. So again, this is from the research done by IDC. If you look, almost over 80% of the people that we spoke to actually have anywhere between 1 and 9 devices, so between 1 to 10 devices at their home. That's typical household these days for us. I mean, Philippines is a very socially connected society. All of us are practically using more than one handheld device for ourselves. So that number is not really alien to us. And this is a reality in the home. So the more devices that come to the home, the wireless network starts to struggle even more. And we also polled and found out what are the typical peak hours. I'm not talking about Manila traffic because every hour is a peak hour, right? But in our homes, the reality is in the real peak hours of everybody being at home. Maybe in the evening when the kids are browsing or downloading, you're probably streaming video, playing games. That is when most of the time the networks start to struggle. 42% actually, you can't see it at the bottom here. 42% was online gaming, 34% is streaming, and then normal browsing, etc. So what do all these analytics tell us? It's a reality that we are living, and we kind of just move along with it, which is actually unacceptable for us because our days are becoming more busier, we want to be more connected, we have more applications to be in touch with our friends and family, but the network and the wireless network is actually pulling us down. Now, the tricky thing is most of us don't know that the router is the real bottleneck in many cases. Now, I'm talking about somebody who's got at least a 2 or 5 Mbps connection at home. I've been in India and I've seen some really remarkable under 100 kbps snail networks, etc. If you've got 1 to 2 Mbps broadband at home for your normal applications at home, and if you're not getting enough out of it, router is probably the problem. Many of us don't know about it. So in the US, when we actually did the survey, 57% of people had no idea whatsoever what router they were using. They had no idea what brand or what technology that router was. And let me ask you, just by a show of hands, how many of you have got a router that your service provider gave you when you got a subscription, a broadband connection? So
Sa
I
akin
do
yata,
see a few
pinalitan ko
here.
na yata.
I think it's probably a few more over there. And do you even know what technology
Bumili
that
ko, kaya
router
alam.
is? Is it
Pinalitan ko
wireless
yata.
G, wireless N, dual band? How many bands? Do you even know what the band is when you actually hook up the router? I mean, I would imagine that most of you probably, quite tech savvy, right? So you would probably be aware what goes on in the industry. But when it comes to router, that is not the case. It's a reality again. The three most commonly heard complaints in our industry. And I have this really good fortune of visiting countries and talking to customers, and I do this like shuttling every week at least 2 countries, and it's such a good fortune to talk to actual customers, media folks like you. And there are 3 things that always stay on top, and I'm going to spend the next 15 minutes to really talk about those 3. First of all, my Wi-Fi, the connection really drops as soon as I turn on another device in the home. Let me give you a real life example. Family watching something on TV. Let's say you've got a smart TV, you're probably watching something, and your kid, let's say a teenager, let's make it real more spicy. The teenager gets a Skype call or a FaceTime call. She's not going to take it right in front of you. She's going to get up and walk inside. The moment that phone walks away from the living room, your streaming starts to buffer. Because that's how Wi-Fi networks are. If you don't have sufficient firepower inside your router, that's exactly what is going to happen. Now, imagine more and more devices connecting to your home. Imagine watching streaming video, live video, or like a Netflix or something at home. The whole thing is going to be even worse, that experience. Another common complaint, I don't have Wi-Fi in my bedroom. Now, there are multiple reasons why you want Wi-Fi in your bedroom. Let's not go into that. But let's assume you want to listen to music.
Live stream.
So, let's say you want to listen to music, and you have a Sonos music system in your bedroom, and there is no Wi-Fi. But you got a good router, apparently, because the service provider told you it's a really good product. And you still don't have Wi-Fi network in your bedroom. So there goes your music. And another one is, most of the people would tell me, oh, wireless is really complicated. Routers are really techie things. I have no idea how to set it up. Now, forget about setting it up. I don't even know how to manage this wireless network. So once I set it up, I want to forget about it. So it doesn't matter whether you got more devices. I just hope that it will all work. Most of the people don't even remember the password anymore. Sometimes they even write the password and stick it at the bottom of the router. Common problems, right? Because we think wireless networking is really complicated. And let me tell you, router manufacturers sometimes make it so complicated. We make it so daunting for somebody to touch that router or set it up or configure it or make the best out of it. So I'm going to really talk about these 3 things. But you might be wondering, okay, you heard a little introduction about me, and I'm standing here now talking about this. But why on earth are you supposed to listen to me about this? So let me just tell you a little bit. At Linksys, we know a couple of things or 2 about wireless networking. We've been in this space for a while, and Christina showed earlier, right? Under Belkin International, we've got 3 brands, and Linksys is the networking brand under Belkin International. We've been in this space for 27 years as Linksys, together with Belkin and Vimo, the other brands, as Chris just mentioned earlier. What's even more interesting is that we were the first brand to achieve 100 million routers milestone. 100 million is a really elite club, and I really like to put it in perspective. Analog telephony took 65 years before 100 million phones were out there. Television took more than 20 years to get there. We took 16 years to get to 100 million. Mobile phones took 14 years to get to 100 million, so we were about 16, which is pretty good. Facebook took 4 years, and Candy Crush Saga took 1 year. So that's pretty much how things go, right? But we are, as of April, we were the first brand in the industry to reach 100 million router milestone. Now, that is quite a humbling experience, as well as a very proud moment. And we take it very seriously, because customers trust us for good wireless networks. And we have to deliver the message, and we have to deliver the right products. Now, another interesting milestone, we pretty much invented home routers. Back in early 2000s, we actually built this product called the WRT54G router, which sold 64 million or 65 million units until today. and that is the most selling router in its class in the history of routers. So we have really learned and understood what customers really look for when they get a router. So we have been mastering the art of doing this. Now, it's not just us doing it. We've got a whole bunch of partners trusting us in this. If you look at whether it's the leading satellite provider in the US, or whether it's Singtel in Singapore, or Hong Kong Telecom in Hong Kong, Cat Telecom Thailand, Ooredoo, which is Qatar Telecom, Etisalat in Dubai, Telconet in Ecuador, Act in India. There's a couple of others at the bottom which you can't see right now. I mean, all of these leading internet service providers use a Linksys product as their preferred router when their customers buy a subscription. Now, that's a reason is because there's something common about all of them. They all have 100, 500, and 1 gig service. Now, I know I read the news that in Philippines, 1 gig service is going to come pretty soon. And I remember you mentioned that, let's keep fingers crossed. I really hope it comes here pretty quickly, because it's going to open up unprecedented entertainment, productivity experiences for all of you. But you can only enjoy that, you can only experience it if you've got a good wireless network, a robust wireless network on which you can build all those experiences. So this is one of the ongoing commitment from Linksys, and one of the reasons why, whether it's Singtel or whether it's Hong Kong Telecom, they actually bundle our routers, especially in the region. Singtel is a great example. Singtel has a 1 gig service. They sell that for $35 a month. You get a 1 gig service at home. And together with the 1 gig service, you can get a Linksys tri-band router, one of the technologies that we're going to talk about in a minute. You can get that at a discounted price. And customers really love it, because they're buying a premium subscription, they want the best experience, and they suddenly get the best router in the market at an affordable price, and they're straight away going and grabbing it. Same thing with Hong Kong Telecom. If you subscribe to a Hong Kong Telecom fiber connection today, by default, you will get a Linksys router. So again, it's a really, really important thing for us to make sure that product is meeting those requirements of these really top-notch service providers, but at the same time, it's also delivering that end-to-end experience, because if I am Hong Kong Telecom, I want my customers to know that when I promise 1 gig service, they get the best experience all the way. Now, I was here a few months ago and I launched the tri-band router here in Manila, and one of the questions I got from the media was, what can you tell the government to improve the infrastructure? And I think it is a really important point. And the good news is that things are changing, and I'm seeing a lot of positive, effects here, especially with the rollout of premium services. But it is a reality. In Singapore, the fiber market took off so much when the government made it a level playing field. And that is really important for the operators as well as for us as consumers, so you can get the best experience. So all of this is really great. Now, I talked about 3 problems that customers always complain about. Number 1, how do I get the best wireless experience when I got a lot of devices at home? Number 2, I need Wi-Fi in my bedroom. Don't ask me what for. And number 3, I really don't know how to set up and manage a router. So I'm going to tell you 3 things that Linksys does in those 3 areas. First of all, multi-device. We've got a product that really fits that requirement. It's a tri-band router, and I'll talk about that in a minute. Range extenders gives you extra wireless network coverage and reach in the areas where the router cannot reach, especially when you are using a router that your service provider gave. And lastly, if you don't know how to manage your network, if you have no idea who is really using your network, you don't even know whether your Wi-Fi network is actually cheating on you because it's giving more time and attention and bandwidth to your neighbor than to yourself, you probably want to use the smart Wi-Fi. And I'll explain for you what that really means. So first, let's talk about the tri-band router. So it's a product that is actually on display there. We launched in Philippines a few months ago. We've been getting really good feedback in the retail market. So I just wanted to kind of recap a little bit. Since Victor talked about the Autobahn in Philippines, I want to use a similar example. Actually, when he talked about the Autobahn gear, I thought he was going to talk about nitrous and modified Ferraris. But let's talk a little bit in a similar language. I think traffic is a problem for everybody, so you probably will understand this. In wireless networking technology, there are multiple areas or bandwidths, let's say, spectrums, wireless frequencies that are available for you to communicate. So the most basic one is what we call the 2.4 gigahertz band, or a single band. It's the same band or spectrum that your microwave oven uses. It's the same one that is used by remote control cars. Thank you. I thought my PC went out of battery. It wasn't. And it's also the same band which is used by a lot of other devices like debt phones and so on and so forth.
Gusto yung wifi natin, mabilis pa. Ano to?
May
10, 14.
Hang on a second.
May
I don't think this is a
shuttle kaya
docking
pabalik.
cable.
May shuttle kaya pabalik sa Makati.
Sumabay ka na sa amin. Saan ka ba sumasakay?
Sa may Ayala MRT.
Ayala MRT.
Sa may SM Cati.
Sumabay ka sa amin. Drop kita. Kayong dalawa ni As.
Ayaw mo pala.
Si As sa amin. Sa may baka sumabay. Bilis pa rin. Dapat nagdala na ako ng laptop. Nag-upload na ako ng mga video ko rin. Ha?
Nire-record mo ko ba to?
Ha?
Nire-record mo ko ba?
Alin?
Yung space? Ay,
Papatayin ko pa. Magkamot pa ako.
So everybody's getting a theater break, I guess, while
Huh?
we find a new cable.
Hindi, kailangan ko rin yung software pang convert. Pang ano. Labang post to. Post ko na.